Pull the tape back just briefly to 1958. You can take a look at what the geography was looking at that time. The Leshner Bridge was in design to be built. You can see a large expanse of tidal wetland coming way down to the south. This is where the boat ramp is located today. So it was a completely different environment in those days. You can see the beginnings of the Ocean Park neighborhood, which were basically sand trails that were platted through there at that time. In the fast forwarding to 74, as some of you all may know, the site was used as a dredge spoil site to keep the Lynn Haven Inlet open. There was a great deal of, I don't know how many millions of cubic yards of fill that was put onto this site. You can see how it changed the whole configuration of it. The wetlands went away. There was the beginning of dewatering ponds and canals that were cut through here for drainage, so that they put the spoil on the site and was able to drain off. What is also noticeable, even in 74, is the beginnings of nature taking over with some forest succession starting to creep down from the north. What's happened over the last 50 years with this property, because it is private property, is that we've got 50 years of trespassing that has resulted in a very unique and distinct trail system that runs through the property. Folks just came on in and they walked around the perimeter, as you can see. They came in at various points off of Marlin Bay and established a pretty good network of trails. As Christy mentioned earlier, this was a site for not only Indigo Dunes, but there were several other multifamily housing projects that were planned for this site. And the southeast corner is what we started to zero in on because it's had the most fill material, the most susceptible to coastal storms, having that vantage point there on the southeast. Today, as some of you, I'm sure, have driven by, you can see where the maritime forest on the west end of the property has begun to move eastward. This is primarily made up of live oak and some very old loblolly pine. You can see the remnants of the canal system here, which is the top of that berm, is a very well-worn track, if you will, because we have lots of different folks that use this site. But down in this corner, we began to zero in on where this building may go, where this development may go. So remember that sand trail. Very important in terms of where we actually placed the project. You know, today it's a different story out there. It's quite an environment. Ecological succession has taken over. Wetlands have come back. We've got lots of wildlife, turtles, shellfish. We also have lots of dogs, people, ATVs. And when the city of Virginia Beach took over this property last July as a parks and recreation system, we were able to control that and limit the access onto the property. We went through a 6-month process with Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Parks and Rec, City of Virginia Beach, environmental advocates, the Shore Drive community, in a master planning process that was very inclusive. We met monthly, if not before that, and came up with an overall far-reaching master plan for the Pleasure House Point property, leaving the maritime forest to continue to succeed on the northwestern corner. That came down to an area where we were looking to have more successional maritime forest. We've got an area indicated for future wetland restoration, that we'd be able to get the right elevation to get water back up in there to support wetlands. There's an open area here that's been designated. It could be overnight camping, possibly so. Salt marsh. The 10 acres for the CBF property is located down here in this far southeast corner. And then the trail network would stay intact. And one of the things we came up with was at these drainage canals, we would open them back up and bridge it over so that we could get tidal flushing back up into what now is controlled by a pipe, and be able to get wetlands to grow further up onto the beach. So when you talk about the plan, again, This is nothing we would have ever done, quite honestly. It's really quite a legacy project for us, because how many projects do you do that don't have any parking? What we've done here is taken Winston Place right-of-way that comes down and serves a pump station here, and developed that as the approach to CBF, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. It meets the living building challenge. It's 22 feet wide. It has permeable paving surfaces. You come down, the road skinnies up to 16.4 feet, which meets the living building challenge criteria. You come in, you drop off, and you access and go into the building. As Christy mentioned earlier, the building is set back over 200 feet from the shoreline, which doubles the CBPA requirement. We've located the building pretty much, as I said earlier. You can see here, this is the impact that this building has for this entire piece of property, right along that sand trail. A couple things to mention about how we're dealing with rainwater and gray water. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have basically a permeable paver street as part of the entrance. It's going off. We have a gray water infiltration basin where gray water from the building will be treated on the south side. We also have rain gardens located around the buildings to treat roof water. Simply put, coming in, the entrance sequence, again, is 22 feet wide. We have bioswales on both sides, permeable paver surface, and street trees, which is basically this section. What does not permeate into the roadway, that runoff will go into bioswales. So we are using, again, a permeable paver system the entire length of the entry. A lot of people have said, why don't we use a porous concrete or the porous asphalt? Our big concern is with drifting sand, is that the porosity of those products will probably be limited in a very short amount of time. On gray water, which is basically water coming from sinks that come out, will be stored in an underground cistern. It's then pumped up into an infiltration basin, because we have to maintain 18 inches of separation from the bottom of that basin to the top of the seasonal high water table. And then the rain gardens, which are located around the building in various different locations. In this particular case, it's pretty simple. The roof water comes off, it comes down, it goes into a splash pad, and then it goes into a rain garden where it's vegetated and it'll treat the rainwater. Chris.